It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline. I am your host, Pat Brown. Joining me as always, the band is back together. My line mates, Devin Little and Kyle Knopp. How are you boys doing?
Well, if you could not tell.
Well, it's nice to have the crew back, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. But before we get into all of that, reminding you at home, this week's show is being brought to you by Morning Skate, a daily newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday through Friday, and it is jam-packed with the best hockey stuff on the planet. It's a daily dose of the latest NHL news, rumors, history, funnies, quizzes, etc., etc. Just a little hockey fun and information brought to you every weekday from the Hockey Writers. You'll see a link in the show description below. Make sure you sign up. We may or may not have the Morning Skate editor on our crew, Kyle Knopp. So jump in, you won't regret it, and it's good stuff. A lot of fun. So, all right, let's dive in, boys. We got a lot to talk about. We're gonna start with an oldie but a goodie before spoiler alert. We all put on our GM caps, so buckle up for that, says every beer league I've ever managed, ever. But let's start with an oldie but a goodie. One good, one bad from basically the week that was, and I will go first super quick. My one good is actually going to be Filip Zadina's performance against the New York Rangers. My goodness, I realize he didn't hit the score sheet, but I think that's the best game that I've seen him play this year. He was engaged. He was energetic. He was making plays. He was playing defense. He was doing everything that you expect him to do, and everything that if he'd been doing it every single game, I don't think the chatter would be there that is there. So Zadina's my one good. My one bad is going to be 50 of the 60 minutes against the Minnesota Wild. And I realized it wasn't that bad, but to start off as well as they did and then just completely fall flat on their face was something you expect more out of the Red Wings by now, because look, they've been there, they've been in those close games, they've had leads, they've been able to maintain leads, and you expect them to be able to do that kind of like they did against the Rangers, and they eked it out in a shootout against the Rangers. So that's my one good, one bad for the week. Kyle, we're going to come to you next. Give us your one good, one bad.
So I actually have two goods this week. One is Red Wings specific, and one is Red Wings related. So my Red Wing specific good was Thomas Greiss in the last game that he played. He was fantastic. Absolutely kept them in that game and won it for them.
Absolutely.
And so just got to give him a shout out, just coming back from that injury. So he's looking good, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Ned, which is what Ned needs right now. My Red Wing related good is the ex-Red Wings. I believe there were a dozen of them that participated in the Olympics, including everyone's favorite Sergei Fedorov is the coach of Team ROC and heading to the gold medal game. So it was fun to watch a lot of those ex-Red Wing players over the last couple of weeks, and looking forward to that gold medal game. So those are my two goods. My bad, I think you nailed it on the head. That Minnesota game was it was a pathetic showing. They looked like they had no jump, no legs, no life. And, they just got embarrassed in that game.
Good stuff. Speaking of the Olympics, yours truly still has one more game to cover, because I am covering Team Sweden. Frankly, was disappointed they lost to Russia, given the state of everything taking place in the world right now. But Team Sweden still has a bronze medal game to play Saturday, if you will. So shameless plug there. Devin, over to you. One good, one bad for the week. What you got?
Well, I had two goods in mind. I had a one and then a reserve, and they both were just mentioned. So let's just kind of rephrase a few of them. Last week's show, sorry you guys couldn't have been there. We had a good time though. We talked about Alex Nedeljkovic potentially being overworked and whether or not Greiss could be part of the solution to that problem. And like you said, Kyle, He had a really good game against the Rangers, probably the biggest reason why they won that game. And then also going back to last Saturday, he also had a really good game against the Flyers. I think that game specifically, he's the biggest reason why they got 2 points in that game. So for him to have two back-to-back really good performances, especially right after we're wondering, is he going to be a problem going forward? That's encouraging, and Ned could use the rest. So, and I do want to give a shout out to Zadina. That goal he scored against Philadelphia, vintage Zadina. We need to see more of that. Now, as for my bad, I'm going to go ahead and just go with overall team defense this week. I know obviously the Minnesota score speaks for itself. And mind you, Nedeljkovic had a really off game. That
couple
game,
empty
so
netters
he
there
didn't help
too,
the
right?
cause. Yeah, for sure. But definitely not up to his standard he set this season. But the defense didn't help him out, as is the case this season. And then that Philadelphia game, like I said, Greiss was the biggest reason why they won that game, because the defense wasn't really bailing them out. So we've kind of talked about this before. Would like to see the Red Wings get back into that strong defensive play that they had last season, while also maintaining the offense that they've shown this season. They still have to find that balance.
Yeah, makes sense. Good stuff. Well, I love that segment, but I'm not going to lie. I've been looking forward to the next 3 or 4 segments all week. So you guys at home, get ready for Trade Deadline Be a GM TGL edition right here. We are going to do our best GM impressions, not anticipating what GM Steve Yzerman is going to do, but how would we approach the trade deadline coming up? So we've got a bunch of different subtopics we're going to hit. The first one we want to talk about, pretty easy. Trade deadline. Are you buying or are you selling based on where the Red Wings currently stand? I'll quickly throw mine out there and then toss it to you, Devin. I'm listening to offers. I don't think I'm necessarily going out to sell, actively get rid of anybody on the roster, but I'm listening to offers, and I'm sure some people are going to come. I'm telling you, I'm not buying, because I don't feel like this team is in a position to be buying. I don't feel like this team, even if they somehow eke into the playoffs, which is looking less and less likely, but still possible, I don't feel like mortgaging anything, whether it's a late round draft pick or a throwaway prospect or anything in between. I don't feel like now's the time to mortgage anything. But we've heard my beer league GM skills before, so let's go to the other boys here on the show. Devin, we're going to start with you. Be a GM. Are you buying or selling at the trade deadline?
Well, I love the implication here that you're a beer league GM, but like Kyle and I are not. We're like actual GMs. But no, I'm honestly going to echo what you said, Pat. I think that you're in a situation where the team is it's not great, but it's better than it has been at any point in Yzerman's tenure. So I don't think you need to go on like a full blown selling spree. I think you let it be known that you're open for business, blow me away with an offer. But I don't think that you go out with a mindset of I'm trading all of these guys. This has to happen. I think that there's only one player that I look at as I'm going to trade, and we'll talk about that later.
We will.
But I'm with you, Pat. Yes, I'm with you, Pat. You listen to offers. If there's a good one out there, you take it. If it's not, you can feel comfortable with where you're at right now.
I like it. Super good perspective. Kyle, we're coming to you next. Be the GM. Are you buying or selling at the trade deadline this March?
Well, it sounds like there's not going to be a lot of disagreement on this episode, because I'm also taking offers. I am not, like you said, actively selling, but I might be calling a couple teams and kicking some tires and kind of seeing what they need and if there's something that I could push their way, so to speak. So I'm definitely open to offers. I'm fielding calls. I'm talking to other GMs around the league, especially those that are in that playoff push, and just kind of keep an eye on what their needs are and what we have as the Wings, what the Wings have to be able to, get back some assets, some draft picks, or maybe some prospects in the process.
Makes sense. Good stuff. We want to hear what you have to think about that at home too. Make sure to comment below. Tell us, are you buying or selling? And in the meantime, we're going to move forward. And now we're going to make some assumptions based on the direction of the team. So this first one, be a GM. If you're selling, who are you shopping? And I'll take a back seat. I have mine, but I feel like I'm always taking all the low hanging fruit. So, Kyle, we'll come to you first for this one. Let's say you are selling at the trade deadline. Who are you out there actively shopping?
Great question. So first off, I'm taking any type of listening. I'm listening to any type of offer. I'm not taking any type of offer. Let me be specific about how I pick my words. I'm entertaining offers as they come in. If anyone wants to call me and pitch an idea, I'll listen to it and see what's there. The players I'm like ready to go and trade are the ones that are on their last year of their restricted or their unrestricted or restricted free agency. Yep. You know, we want to try and get some return for those players. Might as well ship them out now and get even a third, fourth, or fifth rounder. If it means if you're going to lose them in the offseason anyway. Sure. And if it's someone, you know, that you really want to bring back, I think that's someone you could kind of make a backdoor deal with. So, you know, those names are Nemestikov, Gagne, Leddy, Stahl, Danny DeKaiser, and Stetcher, and I'm sure you guys will all kind of jump into those more. So I won't.
You just really took them all, Kyle. You just took them all.
I won't go into why I'm shopping them more than might as well try and get that return. But one name that I'm very much interested in hearing offers from is Zadina. I want to hear what people are going to put out there. I think there's going to be some interest from some teams, especially teams that might be on the outside needing that extra middle six offensive push. And I would really be interested in hearing some offers. So I think that's one. I'll take that one as my one that's really going to be kind of the outside looking in as someone I might be kind of pushing a little bit more, but also just kind of seeing what the return is before pulling any triggers.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Devin, we're coming over to you. Put on that Steve Yzerman cap for a minute. Interesting. And tell me, if you're selling at the deadline, who are you shopping?
Well, a few things come to mind here. Like you said, Kyle, it is a good idea to shop the pending free agents because you know, you might lose them for nothing. If you can get something for them, you might as well. Now, that being said, I think there's two players that I think are going to be highly sought after, or at least somewhat highly sought after at the in the marketplace. And I think that's Nemesnikov and Leddy. Leddy is, you know, I mentioned it just a little bit ago. Leddy's the one player that I'm kind of going into the deadline thinking I'm going to move this player. Because teams always need defense going into the deadline. He has a Stanley Cup. He's 30 years old, so he's not, you know, he's still got some tread left on his tires. I think that, you know, especially with Ben Sherratt from Montreal kind of being like the number one trade target right now that's like feasible, Nick Leddy can definitely get you a return. So I'm shopping Leddy, and let's try to get something good. Nemestikov, I'm shopping him, but I'm also kind of have it in my back pocket that I'm also content to keep him and resign him because he clearly loves being a Red Wing. And I think that it's a good thing to have those types of players on your team, especially, you know, the older ones. He's obviously Slava Kozlov's nephew.
Yep.
And if there's any player on this team who really wants to win a Stanley Cup with the Red Wings, it's him. So if there's not an offer that really blows me away, I'm content to keep him and resign him.
Sure.
There is one last thing I kind of want to throw out there. At some point towards the end of the season, I think you want to get a look at your young players, your rookies, or, you know, if Johansson wants to cross the pond, you got to have a spot for him. And that's part of the reason why I think you got to move Leddy, because then there's a spot. If you want to get a look at Berggren towards the end of the season, there's got to be a spot. And that's where maybe you got to move Nemestikov. And that's also without mentioning the fact that Vrana's coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll talk about
more
that
on that
a little bit too. But you got to have a spot for him too. and you
Yep.
can't just send down Giovanni Smith. That's not going to fix the problem. So I do think you have to move people out, but I also think, to what we've been saying, you don't have to like stumble over yourself to get rid of guys.
Makes perfect sense. For my part, if I'm putting on my GM hat and indicating, okay, we're actively shopping somebody, I think Nemesnikov is where I keep ending up. I mean, you're looking at him, 23 points, including 13 goals this year, and there are a lot of Stanley Cup contenders who could use that type of production in their bottom six.
Absolutely.
And I don't necessarily believe Nemesnikov is a bottom six guy, but boy, would he increase that secondary scoring ability and your ability to generate those chances and keep cycling lines when you need it the most in the playoffs. So I think Nemesnikov, I don't think his stock is ever going to be higher ever again in the NHL as it is right now. And I'm not saying you have to make a deal, but I'm saying it's the right time if you get the right offer, because he's having a great season and I'd hate to see him go, but I think there would be a good return on him if you get rid of him now. So that said, I think that was all good perspective. We're going to keep this conversation going, but before we do, just want to remind you at home, do not forget to sign up for the Hockey Writers Morning Skate at morningskate.io so you don't miss the best daily hockey newsletter on the planet. And it's delivered every weekday at 8 a.m. sharp. Kyle makes sure of it. Be the first to know what's happening in the world of hockey every single weekday. All right. Bills are paid. Well, 2/3 of the way anyways. And let's stay with your Be a GM hat just for one more topic, because let's continue living in our world of hypotheticals and say, let's say you're buying. Let's say Yzerman says, Yzerman pulls a Ken Holland and says, we just got to make the playoffs. We got to make the playoffs. Quick, trade Yarncroc. Quick. Anyways, not that I harbor that one at all.
PTSD going on there, Pat.
Come on, David Legwand. Come on. Anyways. Okay. I'm back on track. Let's say you are buying at the deadline. Devin, we're going to start with you. If you're buying at the deadline, what are you buying and what are you giving up?
If I'm buying, well, I guess we need to kind of, I don't want to say establish, but kind of establish what buying means here. Because, if we're going to go full Ken Holland, then let's go. Let's go pick up Sherratt. Let's go pick up, all the rentals that make absolutely no sense for this team, but let's do it anyways. But no, in my GM Devin Little scenario here, I'm interested in picking up some young prospects that maybe aren't, or maybe young players that haven't, fit in with their team, and maybe give them a new chance with Detroit, kind of like what they did with Fabry. I look at a guy like Jack Studnicka over in Boston as a guy who maybe you target. Maybe that's like you do a Nemesnikov for Studnicka swap. That'd be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But as for, a big swing, because, prospects or whatever, they might pan out, they might not. But let's say we're going to buy big. Well, Pat, I hate to say it, but we're going to try to make an offer for Jakob Chychrun. Because
go on the Chyk route.
Yeah, might as well. We're talking about.
I want to know what you're giving up for Chyk.
Yeah, we're talking about Zadina, right? And we're talking about how he's looked good. I think that he needs to continue to look good, and he can actually start to be a part of an offer, and he's actually tantalizing to Arizona. Sure. But I think you throw, pretty much any defensive prospect that's not named Edvinsson at Arizona. Maybe you throw a Bergeron if that's what if Bergeron's what it takes to push it over and you get Jakob Chychrun. I'm thinking about it real hard. I don't know if I do it, but I'm thinking about it. I know I'm trading Bergeron for Chychrun. This is Pat's nightmare. But hey, you get to watch Bergeron in person. That'd be cool, true. Right? But no, there you go. Basically what I'm saying here is that I put my best foot forward and try to put a good offer to try to get Chychrun. I'm not saying I'm going to go all out and sell out to really get him, but I want to put an offer out there and see how close I am and see if I can, sweeten it just a little bit to land him. Because if they can land a talent like Chychrun, that'll be huge for the Red Wings.
I really like it. And Kyle, I'm actually going to go next really quick. So if I've got my GM hat on for the Red Wings and I am buying, I'm going for Shane Gostisbehere from the Coyotes.
There you go.
And I'll tell you why. Gostisbehere is having a resurgence this season in the desert. He was a complete salary dump for Philadelphia when they shipped him to Arizona. He's got this year and next year left on his deal at $4.5 million per year. But I mean, you look at his output this season, 28 points in 48 games, including 8 goals. And I can tell you just from seeing him in person, his vision is truly impressive on the blue line. He fakes the shot. He can find somebody kind of streaking into the circle or even into the slot. The kind of him and Schmaltz have really connected a number of times. And he brings a sort of leadership that I think would add some stability where the Red Wings really need it on the blue line. And he wouldn't be expensive. I think given his contract for next season, would still take him through. I think he would command potentially a second rounder, of which the Red Wings have 2 this year. And keep in mind, Bill Armstrong in Arizona is just trying to collect the assets left and right. And they already have 5 second rounders. So if he collected another one, now you're looking, the Coyotes have 3 first rounders, 5 second rounders. Even if you don't win the Shane Wright lottery, you've got a lot of options to even potentially trade up if you really want to. So the reason I went Kyle was we were already on the Coyotes, so I figured I'd keep it there. But I go with Ghost. That's who I'm looking for, a caliber player like that. Now, I'm not shopping, but if I were, that's where I would go, right? So, all right, Kyle, over to you. If you're buying at the trade deadline, what are you buying and what are you giving up?
So I kind of wish we had talked about what the parameters were before Devin set them right as we started. Because as I was kind of looking at this question, I was looking at it from the lens of the Red Wings are on the cusp of the playoffs. And if they're buying the season, they're likely buying a rental player that's going to come and kind of push them over the edge to really make them get there into the playoffs this season and give their young guys that experience. And so I was kind of looking at someone that might be able to come over on a loan within the year. And then if he wanted to go back to his team or go anywhere else afterwards. So I was looking at a lot of the upcoming free agents, and one name that popped out to me was Thomas Hertl. I think he could come over and be a first line type center or a fill-in type player and really energize that top 6. You could plug and play him almost anywhere among those guys and really add another heavy left-handed shot with some skill and speed coming through the middle. And so I was looking at it as someone that's going to push him into the playoffs this year who would make that most immediate impact. And so I kind of landed on Hertl in that sense. Going your guys' route, I love your thoughts process there. And I was actually looking at a name that might come up in 2 years as a free agent. So someone that if you want to make a push this year and kind of bring him over next year would be an Anthony Cirelli coming out of Tampa Bay. I've always loved his style. Yzerman's loved him as a player. He drafted him down there. He brought him up through the ranks. He's won 2 cups with the Lightning. And I think he would be the type of player, he'd be a middle 6 player, but I think he'd be that type of player that'd be that shutdown guy that you could count on for years to come. And so in the sense of where we ended up going mid-show, I think I'd go like the Cirelli route. But I think if you're trying to make that buy and push now, I think you'd go for a Hertl.
I think that's great. And there was no justification needed for that, Kyle, because I think that's a good deal. Devin, you have a final word?
Yeah. I just want to say I love the Hertl thing. And, we're not talking about free agency right now, but if he's there in free agency, I would love to see the Red Wings put in an offer.
Yep.
That will be a whole nother show. Stay tuned.
Yes.
So that's really good stuff. And that's the last of our GM segment. But guys, that was fun. Been looking forward to that all week. And I got to say, I think you guys hit it out of the park. So well done. Well done. All right, let's move on to a little real news, not hypothetical news. And I just saw, and before we even had this, or after I put this on the agenda, I just saw Vrana's been cleared for contact, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about one Jakub Vrana, who is nearing his return to the Red Wings. What do you expect from him, and how will that impact the team? And Kyle, we're going to go right back to you. What are we going to get when we see Jakub Vrana?
My expectations for him are going to be kind of held back at first. I'm going to kind of treat it as though it was last season at the deadline when he came over for Mantha and kind of was that question mark, the gray cloud in the air, if you will. Will it, won't it? What's going to happen? And we saw when it did rain, it started to pour, and goals were aplenty with him at the end of last season, and we were loving it. But we can't go into this, especially the end of the season coming off the surgery, with that same expectation. So I'm going to really kind of try and keep mine bridled a little bit, keep him held back in check, and just kind of go into it this season and hope that he stays healthy, hope that he can get through the rest of the season with his health. And if he can pop a few in, I want to see his shot still be there, even if it's not going in, if he's getting those chances and still pulling the trigger. I think that's important. You want to see him still going into the dirty areas of the game to show that he's not afraid of losing those battles and hurting that shoulder again. So there's going to be a lot of little things to his game I'm going to keep my eye on more than just the goals. But I think he has the potential to really to break out again, and I hope he does.
Absolute emphasis on the health there for sure.
Yeah.
Could not agree more. Devin, over to you. Jakub Vrana nearing return. What do you expect from him? How will it impact the Red Wings?
Well, a few things come to mind here. One, I do expect him to be a little rusty to start. I'm not expecting him to, come out in a blaze of glory like he did last year after the trade deadline. He's coming off a long time off. Even though he's cleared for contact, the shoulders probably getting comfortable with it. It might be a couple games or two, a couple games or three, before he scores or before he gets points. I think you need to temper expectations here. We're not looking for 8 goals in 11 games here. And it also depends on who he plays with, because, if he's playing with Larkin and Raymond, he's probably going to get some points just because he's passing to those guys. But if he's playing with, say Rasmussen and Zadina, I'm not saying he's not going to score, but it's just not going to be as easy for him. Mm-hmm. So I think who he's playing with is going to factor into it. Yep. And, depending on when he does enter the lineup, he's going to have 25-ish games left in the season. I think I'm going to set the bar at like 15 or 15-ish. If he can get to 15 points in 25 games, knowing that he's going to be a little rusty to start, I'm content with it. I don't care if it's 2 goals and 13 assists or 13 goals and 2 assists. If he can just, get some steady production going to end the season, and, go into the offseason with some confidence, I'm all about it.
Kyle, did you hear that? I think I heard Devin said Vrana's going to get 50 points.
I heard 50. I definitely heard 50. 50 and 30, I think is what he said, right?
I love it. I had to have a little
clip
fun.
that, Matt. Clip it.
He's going to assist on all of Adam Ernie's goals. That's what's going to happen.
I love it.
Well
Bring
done. Well done.
That's why Adam hasn't been scoring. They haven't been playing together.
Wait, on
this
Vrana,
year.
Yeah. It's not Zadina being held back. It's Adam Ernie. Let's
Fantastic.
talk about that.
Do we have another hour to spend?
I think you both made great points. I don't really have anything to pile on, to be honest. I already said Vrana's health is definitely the most critical. Don't overplay him. Let him ease back into it. Let him be the goal scorer that he is, the playmaker that he is, and let's just have a fun end to the season here. So, speaking of the end of the season, it's funny to even say this, but while it's on the outskirts, it's still a possibility. A lot of people were quick to point out yesterday when the Red Wings beat the Rangers that the Bruins also lost. So love that there's scoreboard watching taking place right now. It's just in fun February. That it's happening. Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's talk about the playoffs very, very briefly, because I got a really easy question for you guys. Do you want to make the playoffs, or are the Wings better served at a potential higher draft pick? Devin, we're going to kick it off with you this time. Should the Wings make the playoffs or go for that draft pick?
I like what they're doing right now. Their playoffs are a realistic thing to aim for. I still think they're going to fall short, and I think that just the playoff, the push for the playoffs is a good developmental thing for this team. So I don't want to see them tank, but I'm not like going all in on a playoff push this season.
That's a very Switzerland take of you right there, right down the middle. I like it. Kyle, let's come to you. Do you want to see the Red Wings make the playoffs? Do you think the Red Wings are better served with a higher draft pick?
I'll lay it out there. No, I don't want to see them make the playoffs because a lot of what Devin said, I think the compete level needs to be there, but to make the playoffs and get swept in the first round and potentially beat up or injured in a couple extra games in intense games, only to end up with 3 or 4 higher spots in the draft. Is it really worth it? And I'm going to say, no, that experience is really not worth it. Give them another year, let them be sniffing the playoffs and kind of have another goal to set for next season is to get there and then go in smaller steps.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. Devin, I think you summed it up perfectly when you said just the chase for the playoffs, trying to play better hockey, especially this stretch right now, the next 2 weeks, right? It's almost a murderer's row of, they had Minnesota, the Rangers, the Avalanche are up next. This is going to build a lot of character and give a lot of experience to these players who've never been in this type of position before. And I think the worst part about it is knowing when the Red Wings do start making the playoffs, you see all of the good teams, all of the championship contenders go through heartbreak before they even get to that promised
You know what's
land.
coming.
So like that's the worst part, I think, about it. But it's fun to watch, and it's been fun to see their progression during this rebuild, especially the last year and a half or so. So really good stuff. And that is going to be our show. But we got a little business to take care of first. Devin,
howlers and growlers now.
Devin, do you have a beverage? Devin?
I do, yes.
So we happen to have a newlywed on this show, and we haven't been able to properly celebrate your nuptials, my friend. So very quickly, Kyle, Devin and I would like to toast to you, and I'm going to do a toast of an old Ogden Nash poem, which hung framed in my parents' laundry room of all places forever and ever. And it left an impression as me as a kid. And I mind you, my parents have been married. I'm going to get this wrong, but it's damn close to 50 years or about 45, 46 years right around now. So
here's to that.
We're gonna toast
Absolutely.
to the Ogden Nash poem, which goes like this. Ready? To keep your marriage brimming with love from the loving cup. Whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Cheers, Kyle.
Cheers.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats.
I feel like part of the family now.
That's good stuff for sure. And on a total random
that water, man.
total random note, Devin and I happen to both choose Blue Moon, which is just phenomenal and absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
But
all right, we're Cider and Raymond over here.
I like it. that is our show for this week. In case we haven't convinced you with our other 2 plugs, sign up for the Morning Skate newsletter. You will get to relive some of Wes McCauley's most legendary moments as a referee. 5 minutes for fighting. That kind of content will put a smile on your face every single morning. Go to morningskate.io, join the fun. As always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. That's our show. We will see you next week. Cheers.